Okay, so the phone where you had the number saved was lost.
Yes, I filed an incident report.
But how did you end up keeping the SIM card?
I had taken it out. I know I left the phone on my desk at work after I'd switched the SIM card back to my old phone, because this was the phone that actually would keep charge. And I want to be able to have a working phone instead of having a phone that would only stay charged for about a half hour and then it would die and I can't make any more calls. It's, for me, not practical.
So after you switched the SIM card was when the phone went?
I left it. I know I left it on my desk, and I hadn't been at work for at least 3 or 4 days.
And you said you made a report to Universal?
Yes, with security.
When
9 days ago.
9 days ago?
Yes.
You don't have a desk, all right? You don't have a job. You haven't had a job in years. You don't have another cell phone that you switched the SIM card. You know, to Bill Majeski, former NYPD detective, now with Safe Now Project. Bill, how do the cops contain themselves? They're listening to all this BS while the little girl could be getting further and further and further away or decomposing. And this woman just goes on and on about losing her phone, and she filed an incident report at Universal when it was stolen off her desk. She doesn't have a desk.
Yeah, it's clearly a very frustrating situation for the police.
How do they keep
from the very
a straight
beginning until
face?
now? I'm sure they're not. I'm sure they're laughing among themselves. But it's a difficult situation. Apparently, they still do not have enough evidence to go find.
You know what? Hold on a moment before I go there. But as I'm listening to her, I'm thinking about all this time, Caylee is either been kidnapped and is being taken away mile after mile after mile as the car turns, or she's decomposing. Those are our two choices. And the mom is sitting there droning on and on about where she left her cell phone at work. There is no work, and the cops are just sitting there. I can hardly stand to listen to it.
It's total denial. We can only hope that Caylee was taken away someplace and is still alive. But the other part of the situation is that if indeed the police believe that Caylee is dead, they apparently still don't have a sufficient amount of evidence to go forward with it.
Okay, hold on with that theory, Bill Majeski.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let's unleash the lawyers again. Eleanor Dixon, Penny Douglas Fur, Peter Schaefer. You know, Eleanor, you and I prosecuted together many, many years. And bottom line, if you think you're going to get slapped with a speedy trial demand, you wait. You wait to file that indictment. You wait to take it to the grand jury until you are ready to put 12 in the box, to strike a jury of 12. Because, like in this case, the case will probably get better over time. They'll find out more the longer they have to investigate it. If they indict right now formal charges on murder or voluntary manslaughter, they could be forced to trial by the defense under the Constitution in about 3 months.
Well, that's true, Nancy. In Florida, I believe they have a statutory right to speedy trial, so the prosecutors are going to wait until they have it all locked down.
What about that, Penny Douglas Fur?
Nancy, they should have waited, period, on all of the charges, because then they could have kept her talking, they could have kept her confidence. As soon as they indicted her on anything, even the finance charges, she retained an attorney. He told her not to say a word. Then they couldn't even talk to her. That's where they lost this case.
What about it, Peter Schaefer?
I don't know if this woman would have ever told the truth about anything. I mean, I still don't think they have a case against her, but it's obvious from listening to the tape she hasn't said anything that's true.
Reality check.
Yes.
Just the hair belonging to the little girl in the back of the trunk. The hair has dark rings around it, according to sources, indicating it is post-mortem, after death.
I agree. That evidence is horrific. However, it's not enough. So you have that. Why haven't they moved in? Why is she out?
You think that the cops are going to give her a get-out-of-jail-free pass because she managed to hide the body? I at least think that is their theory. Let's go out to the lines. Jill in Maryland. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Nancy. I love your show.
You know what? Thank you very much. Could you pass that on to the defense bar?
Oh,
what's your question, dear?
My question is, Casey's mother and father have never gone out themselves to help find little Caylee with the search teams and the individuals that donate their time. But why have they never stopped and actually publicly thanked them for donating their time?
You know, Leonard Padilla, bounty hunter out of Sacramento. Leonard, why is that? You know them better than the rest of us.
Well, I think they're focused on their immediate situation with Casey, their immediate situation with the protesters outside the house. And I don't think they give much thought to the rest of the world unless it's something that agrees with them. They're very, very focused inwardly. I have to say, as long as they shelter
Casey Anthony in that home, their hands are full, all right, Leonard Padilla, with the protesters and the angry group, some would call it a mob, outside the home. The police are called there on a daily basis, and the reality is they don't understand why people are so angry. We're angry because the little girl's life could be hanging in the balance, or her body is decomposing right now out in a landfill or a swamp somewhere.
Absolutely correct. If they'd have gone along with a situation where they'd have never had Casey taken to that house, if she'd have been removed to a safe house, they wouldn't have the problems out there.
Leonard Padilla, do you think that the brother Lee is changing his story? I noticed at the beginning he was saying he had never heard of Nanny Zenaida Gonzalez, but now he's saying he's known about her for about a year?
Well, he's obviously changed his story, and Rob Dick can tell you how many times he's changed his story since we first met him.
Good thought. What about it, Robert Dick?
Yeah, he's obviously changed. I mean, from the point of when he was there, you know, anything he could do to help us and telling us things, and down to towards the end there where he was just flat lying. I mean, he was caught lying to my face.
About what?
Well, for one thing, the attitude that Casey had about this whole thing. I mean, when the air samples came out, I know for a fact from a person that I have inside how she reacted when that came across the news.
How did she react?
It didn't bother her at all. You know, her comment was that a lot of people have had access to the trunk.
You're kidding.
And then in talking to Lee, Lee sits there and tells me, sitting across from me, how bad she acted, how upset she was. They almost had to call 911 because of her blood pressure, which was just complete BS.
Playground off to the right, if you're looking at the creek or the river. Which one did she play at?
She's played at both of them, but usually the bigger one that's down towards where the Y is.
Right. That's the one she liked the most?
Yeah. Because there's more things to climb on, and for her to run around, there's usually a lot more little kids.
So the fact that it was at the check cashing place is just coincidental because you ran out of gas. It's not like you went there to cash a check. You didn't go in the store.
Cash a check. No, I didn't go into the store. Right. I wasn't abandoning my car.
Right.
It just happened circumstantially. I ran out of gas.
Right.
I had to call my boyfriend Tony to come and pick me up.
It's awfully early in the morning to run out of gas. Wasn't her car spotted there at 7 a.m., Leonard Padilla?
Correct. It was there at 7 a.m. And to add something to that, there was a situation where somebody here mentioned about Mark Hawkins saying that there was another military guy or something. Well, there's a Brandon Snow that was a friend of hers that other people have alleged could be the father that went up to North Carolina recently. I think he's in the Army. But getting back to the car running out of gas, it was there out of gas at 7 a.m. She's on the phone to the Marine 11:30 the night before. Last calls she made the night before were to the Marine.